Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Race Room Ranked Championship here in 2023. You join myself, Zach Sweeney, Cameron Roger, alongside me in the commentary booth for round number 2 of the MX-5 Cup. We're here, of course, in Wisconsin in the USA for Road America, a brilliant circuit, one that's fast-flowing and a lot of fun in these little agile MX-5s. Of course, we were at Autodrome Moss 3 weeks ago for round number 1, and it proved to be a massive success with 3 races and 3 winners. Hopefully, more of the same today, because we've got 3 more 15-minute races for you over at home, watching along on the RaceRoom YouTube channel. And, well, Cam, it must be said that Autodrome Moss was a really good kickstart to the first season of ranked racing on RaceRoom in 2023. And I'm looking at Road America, I'm expecting more of the same, if not even better.
Yeah, it was a fantastic start to the season. The track just suited the cars really well, and I'm expecting Road America actually to be the same. There's so many straights around here. The slipstream is going to be absolutely huge, and in general, Road America is just a pretty fun layout as well. It's pretty long, but not as long as the Nordschleife. That will finish off the season in a few weeks' time as well. So yeah, definitely it's a very fun championship, this, with the MX-5s. It's going to have close racing. We got the reverse grids for race 2 and race 3 as well, so that's going to mix it up a little bit. So yeah, it should be a nice evening of action.
Should be indeed. Really looking forward to kickstarting things off. Obviously, we have got Berno and Nordschleife over the course of the next 6 weeks, and also we've not just got the MX-5, we've got the KTMs and the GT3s. They alternate on a week-by-week basis, so you're never without some ranked fun here on RaceRoom. But let's focus on the MX-5s because, well, they are insanely fun cars to drive, and the way the championship is looking at the moment, Luciano Vitford leads from Ben Farkas, Sebastian Ray, Enzo Filipao and Christian Mikel, the top 5, after a string of really good results from those over the course of our trip in the Czech Republic. Luciano Vitford, while he didn't take any victories, Cam, he got a string of 3 top 5s over the course of the 3 races. I think one of the only people to do so, and it's that consistency really that is going to win this championship.
Yeah, it seems with this format that we have, it's going to be, as you say, is the consistency factor with the top 10 being reversed for the race 2 and race 3 grids. That means you always want to keep yourself inside the top 10 so that you're never sort of missing out from that, and then you're not missing the gain from being pushed back to the front of the grid for the next one as well. So it's definitely going to be that sort of season, and I'm looking forward to it actually, because we've had 3 races, which means there's still 9 whole races to go. It's not just 4 rounds and 4 individual races, it's 12 total races. There's lots of opportunities, and therefore, if you're the most consistent, if you're getting inside the top 5, I mean, even if you're getting on the podium every race, you're probably going to end up winning the championship.
Oh, indeed so. And yeah, really looking forward to seeing how obviously that plays out going forward. And yeah, the reverse grid race always does lend itself to some really good racing action, because it allows those that finish towards the front to then prove themselves and fight their way back through. Like Enzo Filipao, I mean, 3 weeks ago, he took that race 1 victory, started at the back end of the top 10, and then, in fairness to him, did fight his way back to, I think, 2 6th places in the end of the evening. So it does sort of have to show that, you know, if you're going to win the championship, you have to be good at starting from pole and running away, but also fighting your way through the field. Talking of someone that had to fight their way through the field, by the way, Mariusz Zabdir. He had a quite a lot of potential in his evening at Most, but wasn't quite able to extract it. I think his race 1 didn't quite go to plan, and as soon as one race doesn't go to plan, Cam, as you say, with the reverse grid, it has that chain reaction effect on the rest, so much so that you almost have to sacrifice a race just to make the final race better, because say if you get taken out to P15, you have to use the race after that to get yourself back into the top 10 to then be able to be back into the mix. So if you are a driver like Mariusz Zabdir, who did have that bad luck, your whole evening essentially is going to be damage limitation from there on in.
But it can work out well in some ways. As you say, it might take you a race, but say you're fighting for the podium in the first race, you have a bit of an accident, you go down to P15, then in the second race, you get back up to like P8, P9, P10, guess where you're going to be for the third race? You're going to be on the front row of the grid. So it can work out well as long as you have some good racecraft. So it is a pretty rewarding format if you want to be aggressive and try and make some moves. Hopefully we don't see what we did see a couple of times into the first chicane back at Moss, which is a couple of not really pile-ups, just a few drivers getting a bit overexcited into there. It is a little bit more open around here at Road America, but it's still going to be some quite high-speed action. I'm expecting quite a bit of slipstream in these cars.
Yeah, I mean that's obviously the good thing about these MX-5s. Is they are very prone to a good bit of slipstream, and Road America as a circuit really does lend itself quite well. I mean, you can see Enzo Filipao here making the most of the slipstream on that run into the downhill braking. Not quite exactly what you want to be doing in qualifying. But talking of qualifying, obviously, as we say, Road America is a very, very good circuit for slipstream. Is that going to mean track position is more important, less important? Is there enough places to make the most of slipstream? Can you get moves done, or is it just going to be trains and trains and trains?
Track position is going to be important, but in a slightly different way to how it works at other tracks. Sometimes we talk about track position being important because it's difficult to overtake. Therefore, you of course want to be ahead on the track because if you can't overtake, you can't move forward in the race. However, track position and therefore your strategy of where you're going to be is going to be what's important. Are you going to want to be leading coming onto the final lap? And even if you are you going to be wanting to lead into turn 1 or maybe down the back straight into turn 5? Or do you even want to be trying to overtake here down into Canada corner with just a couple of laps to go on that final lap? That is going to be the interesting point about where you want to be in the pack. I am expecting a little bit more of a pack race, and therefore the drivers with a little bit more racecraft, I think, are going to be the ones coming out on top.
Yeah, indeed so. One of them, in fact, might be our provisional pole sitter of Bence Farkash. He was the one of only 2 drivers, himself and Luciano Vitford, were the only 2 to finish inside the top 5 across all 3 races at Autodrom Most. And right now, he's done a really good job of showing his pace in qualifying. And is at the moment 66 thousandths of a second ahead of his fellow countryman of Christian Orban, who is no mean slouch as well, by the way. All of these drivers are here because their reputation and their rating are high enough to be able to get themselves into Split 1 for the Europeans. We have got pretty much essentially the best of the best when it comes to RaceRoom esports. There you can see obviously the rating and reputation, how quick you are, and also how clean you are. 2 obviously very important ingredients for a quick driver. And I think it's a good thing, Cam, that RaceRoom have done this, because it's all well and good you know starting on pole, running away with things, finishing P1, getting a really good rating. But if you're a driver that's spinning out every lap, if you're exceeding track limits, if you're smashing into people, you're not quite the driver that's going to want to be, that's not going to fit into a Split 1. So the way it works is actually really clever, and it means that we've got a hugely stacked grid of more than 30 of the best in RaceRoom.
Absolutely, and the fact that also we've allowed drivers to enter all 3 of the championships that we've got this year, with the MX-5s tonight, then the KTMs next week, and then the GT3s the week after. For instance, like Vitva leading the way in all 3 championships, so we're allowing all the good drivers to come there and to really show the best that we've got. And here is one driver who's also doing pretty decently, Sebastian Ray, 3rd in the championship, 10 points off Luciano Vitva, but he's down in 14th place as it stands, 1 second off the pole. If you look at just how close the lap times are around here, just literally a few thousandths of a second, and he's going to be going up a few places. So it's going to be quite important, but with such a long track, it's also so easy just to lose that 10th of a second as well.
It is, yeah. 14 corners here at Road America. Obviously depends how you count them, because turn 2 is not a corner, no matter what anyone says. Absolutely is not. Obviously there are some very funny ways of counting corners, but give or take, about 14, whatever, we'll roll with it. There are 14 different opportunities for you to make up time, and considering how close it is, maybe it literally could just be a case that Sebastian Ray hasn't had a lap in slipstream, because look at this, we've got 3 cars, nose to tail here, working together with the slipstream. I remember when I was doing the Rocket Racing Star Formula 4 competition last year, how important slipstream was at some circuits, half, 3/4, even a second at some circuits. Sometimes your qualifying pace is not ever truly representative of what you can do around a circuit.
Yeah, that's true. If you do something like Farkash is doing here, you're being on the back bumper of a driver, getting those extra couple of tenths from the slipstream. You can, of course, push your way further up the grid. Let's see if Farkash can extend that out towards the front. And over 3/10 of a second, he has got that pole position from Christian Orban with just a minute to go. So these drivers do not have enough time to go round again. But it was actually Orban and Farkash, I think it was, working together, trying to get themselves up towards the front there.
Yeah, obviously the 2 fellow countrymen, Hungarian, I'm going to go with. That's not what we'll go with. Yeah, look at me. I do know my geography sometimes. Hungary and Bulgaria, they're fairly similar. They're the ones that trip me up a little bit, but they're both Hungarian. They're both on the front row as well. Christian Mikel for NeedRacing.com. Quite impressive over the course of round number 1. Did not actually do all too terribly, so we'll see what he can do. I mean, at the moment he's inside the top 10, so straight away already a good start to the evening. He's only got 20 seconds to reach the line though, because for those unfamiliar with RaceRoom, if this is one of your first times here, as soon as the timer ticks 0, as soon as a driver is incapable of finishing a lap, that's it. That's the session done. Tough luck, sunshine. You've really got to time your lap times well, and 2 drivers that did exactly that were Ben Farkas and Christian Orban. They'll be sharing the front row for race 1 here in Road America. Enzo Filipao, our first ever race winner in season 1 of the MX-5 ranked championship, is 3rd. Philip Dreys joins him on the front row. The championship leader Luciano Vitfut just behind in 5th. Then comes Julius Bartalos, Mariusz Zabde, Christian Mikel, Vila Cravey and Shores Oysa, the top 10. Then you can see the likes of Nemchek, Daniel Erbik all the way down through the field, because Cam, fortunately for us, we've got 34 cars taking to the field today, and hopefully that's going to result in quite a good ton of action.
Yeah, it's going to be a crazy shot that of all the drivers coming down into turn 1. It's going to be, yeah, just a swarm of bees as they try and find a braking zone for what, braking point, I should say, for what is a very difficult zone there in towards turn 1. It's a fast corner, slightly downhill as well. Actually, once you get to the braking zone, it's not the easiest place around here, but of course you want to be settling yourself in to get a good run out of turn 3 and onto the second straight as well down towards turn 5. So it's going to be definitely a game of where you position your car. You got to have some good racecraft around here, and I definitely am expecting the order to be changing quite frequently, but let's see how the drivers manage the race. It's only 15 minutes, remember, so you do have to sort of get yourself to the front quite quickly, because with a 2.5 minute lap, there aren't many laps around here.
There really aren't. What was it going to be? 15 minutes? But we're going to scrape onto 7 laps, are we? Sure. 7? Yeah, we'll go with 7. We'll obviously wait and see what the actual lap time is, because it'll probably depends where they cross the line. Of course, they do in the race get the extra lap. They're not that mean at RaceRoom. They are allowing you to finish the race if you cross with time to spare. Should be a really good race though, as we say, with the slipstream and how important the track position is and things, how close that qualifying session was. What is it, something like 6 or 7 tenths, something like that in that region, covering the top 10 in qualifying, and a second and a half for the next 10 places beyond that. It shows that these drivers definitely know what they're doing. They're definitely very competitive, and it means that if you can sort of nail the opening moments of this race, get yourself into a good position going forward, you haven't really got that long left to defend, which means if you can get a good start, chances are you might be able to finish quite well as well.
Yeah, just on the maths, we should be sneaking into a 7th lap around here, just inside the 15 minutes. So, yeah, it's not really too long. And if you're trying to think, if you're a little bit further back, say P15, you want to be getting yourself inside that top 10.
We do indeed. Well, the cars are on to the grid. 15 minutes on the clock. Round number 2 of the RaceRoom ranked MX-5 Cup, Season 1 of 2023. It's a Hungarian front row, and it's a slow start from the pole sitter. Christian Orban pulls alongside on the left as they run in towards turn number 1. Look at that from Philip Dreys as well on the outside. He worked his way up into 3rd alongside Enzo Filipao. The Frenchman started 3rd, now 4th. 2 wide, 2 deep as we run away slightly downhill into turn number 1. Christian Orban around the outside very clearly of Ben Farkas. Philip Dreys trying to do the same as well as they run their way through turn number 2. A brilliant start from the Hungarian.
Yeah, amazing for Orban. There's becoming still too wide, a little bit further back. There's Luciano Vitver in the orange machine, just making up another place there. And actually, defending, I should say, into that 5th place. Now they try and get the slipstream down here. Who is going to be leading? Who's going to be diving it down on the brakes as they come through the king of turn 4? It's going to be important to position your car correctly. Seems like it's going to be single file at the front though.
Yeah, at least for now, but we're definitely going to see a couple of brave people who are going to be quite courageous on the brakes. You can see Luciano Vitver in the background, quite defensive. Around his outside, I think, goes Bartalos, having a bit of a look. Goes a little bit too wide, and Mariusz Zabde looks to sneak his way to the inside as well. 3 wide as we climb up the hill. Here comes Christian Mikel as they run their way in towards turn number 6. Beautiful move, it must be said, from the German. Very opportunistic, but the up and under for Mariusz Zabde could be quite strong. Inside line, though, still for Mikel. Bit of door banging as they run their way through 7, now dipping downhill, and this is brilliant racing, Cam.
Certainly is. I think that's P10 start for Michel now round the outside. He's going to hold on to it, use a little bit of the runoff, but Zabdir is doing great defensive work here. Of course, the top 6 now, top 5 starting to get away a little bit side by side through the carousel. Marish Zabdir all the way around the outside, but Mikel is going to have the slightly shorter run. He'll go half a car length ahead as we come up towards the kink. This is not a place to go side by side, so Michel should be able to hold on to it. Although Zabdir round the outside is just going to lose out as we're now getting Bartolos coming in behind.
Such great racing, so respectful, and will it continue on the run in towards Canada corner? Here comes Bench Farkas trying to reclaim P1 after losing it off the start. Inside line for Canada corner. Christian Orban is sent wide. Philip Dreys tries to take the race line and nip his way to the inside. Also side by side in the background, that fight for 6th, 7th and 8th continues. Side by side for 2nd though, outside line for the German. Philip Dreys now has the inside for the penultimate corner, and now he's going to have the inside line for the final corner. It's going to be Bench Farkas that leads the first lap, but look at that move. Christian Orban trying his absolute best to keep the momentum around the outside, but now he gets the slipstream and he gets that run into turn number 1. However, I'd be more mindful of Enzo Filipao looking quite daunting in the background.
Getting a double slipstream here towards turn 1. He keeps in it as it's such a long straight for these MX-5s. He slightly pulls out a little bit and is not actually gaining as we get towards that first corner. So I wonder if there's a little bit of lifting off there. As that side by side in the background as well. Christian, Michel, Zabdir and Bartos still having that accident. Accident, I should say. One car going off 3 wide. Bit of contact as we come through turn number 2 as the drivers try and find their way into some sort of order, but it's still battling into turn 3.
Absolute chaos for the opening of the midfield fight here in Road America. Brilliant racing, it must be said, and very hard but very fair racing as well. That midfield fight proving to be fantastic. Philip Dreys though looking from what was a 2nd row start, eyeing up the lead. Defensive goes the pole sitter. He's able to squeeze out and take as much of the race line as possible, but look out for that up and under. You can see he's just about managed to get an inch of his front bumper ahead. Is he going to be able to send it on the brakes into turn 6? How committed is Farkas going to be? Gives him the space around the outside goes the Hungarian. He keeps the lead, but Philip Dreys is not going to let him breathe.
These top 5 really starting to get away now as Farkas is really struggling also to hold on to this lead. To the outside now, Philip Dreys goes. He's got, of course, got cars in the background. That car of Orban is going to be going a bit wide. Filipao comes up side by side for 3rd place. In fact, he's got it before the carousel. Vitford now trying to go round the outside himself to get up inside that top 4 place. And that is going to be Orban from the lead down into 5th place most likely as we come out of the carousel up towards the kink for this next time. As we said, it's not the place that you want to go side by side. It's Orban just going to have to fill in behind. Yes, he is. Top 5 great battles.
It is indeed. Absolutely loving every second of this, and we've still got 10.5 minutes left to go of it side by side for the race lead, or at least it was for a second. Philip Dreys trying to look for a way through. Defensive Farkas into Canada corner. The red, black and white of Philip Dreys trying to go the long way round. He's just about going to be able to keep the momentum. Good bit of runoff on the exit, gets pushed wide from the pole sitter. Benz Farkas is able to stay ahead, but Philip Dreys is under pressure from Enzo Filipao, trying to find the space, it must be said. But look for Vitford, the championship leader, getting into the mix side by side with Filipao. That's for the podium. He's gone the long way round of the Frenchman, and now all he's got to do is put his foot down and hope that he can maybe fight for 2nd.
This is amazing stuff as we're still side by side for that 3rd place just about as Filipao trying to get into the slipstream. There he goes. A little bit too late though. He's a bit too close to get a run as he's going to be pushed by Orban now for that 3rd place. But back to the front, it's going to be Dreys. Just moving side by side towards the first corner. Almost not quite getting enough alongside, but in towards the braking zone. Side by side, there you go. It's going to be up the inside for Philip Dreys in that red machine. He's going to be taking the lead as Orban, Farkas I should say, trying to defend, trying to get to the inside, but it's actually going to be Vitford who now dives down the inside of turn number 3 from 5th place to 2nd in the matter of half a lap.
Just goes to show how quickly races like this can change, and we are not complaining at all. I mean, Orban was leading this time a lap and a half ago and is now finding himself in 5th, albeit side by side with Enzo Filipao in that fight for what is 4th place. They've got to be careful though not to fall off the back. They can't fight too hard from 3rd downwards because they risk the opportunity of the rest getting away. Trying to duck to the inside, Luciano Vitford on the inside of Philip Dreys, tried to sell in the dummy, didn't quite work on that occasion, and immediately defending the inside Dreys. Luciano tries to thread the needle to the middle, not a lot of a gap, but Dreys lets him have it. He goes wide, takes the momentum around the outside, a little bit squirmy as the Flying Dutchman, and Benz Farkas is sent onto the grass. He just about managed to hang on to it, but now he's sent to 5th.
Great save. That could have been a race-ending, it could have been a night-ending disaster actually if he dropped out this top 10 as well, fully reversed. That could be not good for him later on. But as it stands, Drace is leading still from Vitva, who's really going for this. Championship leader, made up 3 places already so far to get up into that 2nd place. He wants this race victory though, as we're already coming up very quickly. By the end of this lap to halfway in this race, Orban there in 3rd, Filipao in 4th. He's making some decent progress as Farkash has dropped down to that 5th place. And Christian Michel and co also not too far behind, so the pack staying pretty close together overall as well.
It is, which is really nice to see. Obviously, look out for Michel coming in because he's, only about a second and a half off. They continue to fight this hard. It might not be long until we see the majority of the top 10 all fighting in a train for the lead. That's wide. Not entirely sure who that was. That was Bartolos. Allows Marius Sabdir through, but our focus is here for the fight. This is for 2nd, so Philip Drace has been able to use this to shoot away, get a couple of car lengths clear, and this is exactly what he needs. If he can break that slipstream cam, he's going to run free for the final half. Oh, slow down.
Yeah, I think that's a slow down penalty. And that's going to lose so much time. Look at the blue machine there, Farkash. He's going to get freight trained by Farkash, and also is that Christian Michel coming past as well. So we're definitely splintering this top pack into a couple of pairs and some triplets in there as well, as the drivers start to spread themselves out in towards this 2nd half of the race, coming towards turn number 1. It's going to be Filipao up into 2nd, Vitva 3rd, Farkash back up into 4th place. But Christian Michel, he's going to be getting the run out of turn 1 through the kink of turn 2. He's going to back out just for now. Actually, no, he's going to dive it down the inside of turn number 3. He's going to make it up into 4th place there as Farkash doesn't really defend it.
Now we've got the overlap of the 2 fights that we've seen over the course of the first half of this race. Christian Michel has had such a good race up until this point, and I'm not entirely sure if he's going to stop there. If the likes of Vitva and Filipao continue to fight, we could well see the German close onto the back of them. However, he's immediately having to go defensive from Benz Farkash, who's already putting some pressure on in that blue MX-5 outside line for turn number 5. He's late on the brakes, not quite agile enough to go the long way round, and that could invite Christian Orban to get the up and under. Those 2 shared the front row cam. Now they're 5th and 6th. Just goes to show the intensity of races like this and how you cannot blink for even a second before your races, turn on its head.
It just shows you that qualifying isn't everything as well. We've seen the racecraft already of Dryson, Vitva, and even Filipao as well, the top 3, all making progress. And Christian Michel, I'm pretty sure it was 10th place that he was, at least towards the back of the top 10 at least. He's made up so many good places already, and now just needs to try and catch up to Vitva there. A little bit of a gap has formed, but he's got Farkash trying to almost push him, of course, through the carousel and get a run out onto this back straight. But of course, the kink comes first as well. It's such an important corner because it goes onto such a huge long straight down to Canada corner as well. Can Farkash get a run?
That's going to be the question. The slipstream is strong. Is it strong enough for a move into Canada corner? It doesn't look quite close enough, but it's still enough to make Michel think twice. He goes defensive, and Farkash does have a bit of overlap, but it's quite difficult to go around the outside of Canada corner. We've seen it before. It's become to no avail. So it's probably better off waiting for that run through the pit straight. Obviously, the uphill climb. If you can get a better exit than the car in front, you can carry that momentum, get the better drive up the hill, and in all fairness, it's quite a long pit straight as well. So I think the most important corner on this circuit is probably this one right here. Put your foot down, don't get a slowdown, and hope the slipstream's enough to carry you forward. Albeit though, I'd say Christian Orban is probably too close to the back of his fellow countryman to really spark anything. You want to be 2-3 tenths back to properly make the most of a slingshot. However, they are going to drag fight all the way towards turn 1 anyway.
Side by side up towards the braking zone for this 4th place. Farkash gets it though. Around the outside it's going to be Christian Michel's going to have to just come in for that 2nd place, although we saw last time around an overtake in towards this turn 3 as we have Orban just watching on. Farkash though lets Michel go up the inside once again and tries to get the switch back now down this back straight. And as you say, so you don't want to be right on the bumper of someone, you want to be a little bit far behind so that you get a bit of overspeed. You can use that slipstream and you're not basically just going the same speed, pushing them along. Down this back straight though, through the kink of turn 4, Michel is going to have to defend. Farkash is getting bump drafted. A bit of extra speed from the push of Orban in towards the braking zone. On the outside is going to be, but Michel manages to hold on. No, Orban, actually, after helping Farkash, is now going to get the overtake.
Yeah, well, he's like, nah, sod you, mate. This is mine to take. He wants to get himself into the top 5 side by side between the two of them. Orban is the one that takes the victory in that particular battle. Here's Marius Sabda as well. He's had a quiet race, fighting his way back towards this little train, this little pocket. Farkash with a small mistake. Marius Sabda sees it coming as the blue MX-5 darts to the right. Marius Sabda stays firm on the left, tries to take the inside. Not quite worked on this occasion. Sabda is looking really strong. He's one of the most raceable drivers on the field, it must be said. He knows how to carve his way through a field. He knows exactly what he's doing and how to come out on top for the Hungarians. But it must be said, Cam, that considering they started on the front row, considering they fought in that top 4 fight for so long, are we seeing maybe some desperation, some frustration for Orban and Farkash?
Yeah, potentially. Potentially that is something that can sort of wind itself up a little bit as the race goes on. But you've got to be keeping calm, especially when you're still in a top position like this. 5th and 6th are still a pretty decent result, and it'll give them a decent grid space for next race as well. So do not throw it away in this battle with Zabda. But Zabda's almost been pushing Farkash for a good probably 2 kilometers so far this lap as he come up towards the final corner, trying to get the run maybe, or diving it down the inside. No, it is going to be the run that Zabda is going to be trying to get. But the blue car there, Farkash, is actually in quite a nice slipstream range of Orban ahead.
He is, which is always very helpful. It's a nice defensive tool that allows you to put some pressure on the car in front, but also allows you to defend from the car behind, because they can't get the leg up on you with the slipstream, because you've got it yourself. What's going to be the deal? Farkash, a bit of a bump tap to Christian Orban as he's more interested in working together. Marius Sabda, however, you can see very daunting in the rearview mirror, tries to pick his way to the inside, gets given the space by Farkash. Zabda saying thank you very much, takes the inside for turn 1, the imaginary turn 2, and then eventually will take into turn 3 as well. Shaw's Oyster has got Nemchek and Peter Daniel for company as well. Just goes to show, Cam, that it's not just the front lot that are fighting quite hard, it's the entire 34 car field.
Yeah, so Nemchek there in that yellow machine in 9th place. Daniel behind in that 10th place. That's reverse grid pole for race 2. But who is going to be getting the race win here in this first race of the evening? Side by side, Drace on the inside, Filipao on the outside. Race winners just in their blood. Oh, big slide though from Drace. Can he hold on to it? Yes, he can. As we come up the hill, this is an important corner actually. Very tricky uphill braking zone. Don't be overshooting that one, which they both do not do, as Filipao is trying to put his opponent offline and find a way through.
He is, and that is obviously very clever driving from the Frenchman. It's what allowed him, actually no, it wasn't what allowed him to take victory 3 weeks ago. He was dominant in his charge, but it's what allowed him to take a good couple of 6th places in race 2 and 3. His ability to bait drivers into mistakes, to take the right line at the right point and make the right decision, which when you're in a fight as heated as that, not always an easy thing to do, but it's all about keeping your composure and making sure that if an opportunity comes, you evaluate it very quickly and then decide which is going to be the best course of action. That's a course of action that Filipao is very good at taking, but also Drace's pace over the course of the last 15 minutes has been astounding, and also just his sheer ability to dispatch of drivers so quickly. He's got a very good racing mentality, and he's going to have to switch it on right now. Side by side for the lead, Filipao to the outside of Canada corner.
Drace holding on the inside there, though. Is he going to run wide? No, he's not, as there's only 30 seconds left. I think we might just squeeze another lap here, but Filipao doesn't care about that. Round the outside of the penultimate corner it's going to be, and that is not going to be the overtake that he wants, but this is the corner. Set yourself up for a run. 15 seconds to go. Should be another lap by the time we get to the line. One more time around for Filipao to try and win this race. Inside the final 10 seconds, I think we're just going to scrape it.
I think we are. We're going to tick on to lap number 6. Philip Drace, Enzo Filipao, also Luciano Vitfrit in the mix as well. The top 3 are fighting tooth and nail. Is that... No, we're finished. Well, that was a bit of an anticlimax. Unfortunately, we do not get one extra lap, and it's Philip Drace that takes a very well-deserved victory here for race 1 of round 2 of the MX-5 Cup. Filipao and Luciano Vitfrit 2 and 3. Good finish for the championship leader, and a nice one at that. And that is just... goes to show how close each and every single one of our 34 drivers were. Philip Drace, Enzo Filipao, Luciano Vitfrit, a hard-fought podium. Christian Michel, a charge through the top 10. Christian Orban up into 5th place. Marius Sabda 6th. Ben Farkash in 7th from the front row. Not what he would have wanted at all. Shaw's Oyster, Nemchek and Sebastian Ray adds to his top 10 total, finishing in 10th. That is going to be the order that gets flipped on the head for race 2. And Cam, it looks very spicy.
And that was a big one from Sebastian Ray there. I think it's 14th place he started, so he got himself up inside that top 10, managed to get past Bartos and Daniel there on that final lap and get himself a reverse grid pole. So that is very important for the championship. He's 3rd place as it stands. And yeah, just showing you actually, we'll have to remember this for the next races. It looks like a race is almost exactly 15 minutes. And this time around, we didn't quite sneak that extra lap. So if the pace is a little bit quicker next time, maybe we will. And that might affect how some drivers battle on that 6th lap, which could be or could not be the final lap. I wonder if Philip Howe there was thinking there was going to be another one as well, as that came down right to the last tenths of a second. But yeah, good stuff here at the first race of the evening.
It was indeed. Really looking forward to seeing what race 2 and 3 bring. Myself and Cam, we're going to step away for just a second before race 2 gets underway. A quick word from our sponsor. Welcome back then, ladies and gentlemen. We stepped away for just a second and we're moments away from getting ourselves underway for our second race of 3 for this evening's MX-5 Cup, round 2 of the first season of 2023 Ranked Championship Racing here on RaceRoom. My name is Zach Sweeney. Cameron Roger is alongside me for the proceedings tonight. And Cam, what a race that was. What a way to kickstart the evening, albeit with a bit of an anticlimax at the end. We all wanted that dash to the line on that final lap run. However, that does not take away a single thing from how good the racing was. It was hard, it was clean, it was respectful, and it was all race long as well. What more could we ask for?
Yeah, I think the big word there is clean, actually. We saw a few argy-bargy moves back in Monster 3 weeks ago. This did seem that little bit more clear. We'll see how that progresses, though, as the evening goes on into the second and third race. Of course, we've got the reverse grid as well. So potentially there'll be slower drivers ahead of the faster drivers, so that naturally compresses the field a little bit more and adds a little bit more tension to that. So yeah, definitely a great start though. Love the racing, love battles and the slipstreams and how that worked. So I'm hoping that we can have the same again, but of course with a different starting order.
Yeah, of course. It was such a heated fight inside that top 10, which tells me obviously all of the top 10 were really close on pace. Does that mean that maybe our top 3, our winners, might struggle to carve their way towards the front, given how close everyone is?
You would expect so, especially the way that Michel works his way up from that 10th place as well. He managed to make quite a few positions, so it's definitely possible to get back from that 10th place. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Drace and Philip Howe fighting for the podium again in this race. The race is long enough. There's enough straights around here that you can work your way forward. You just need a little bit of racecraft and timing the moves correctly.
And that is, of course, going to be very, very important. Timing is key. It reminds me almost of cycling, everyone being so close together. Follow the leader, essentially, was the general consensus. And also very similar to almost a karting race, with how nose to tail everyone was. It means that your decision-making has to be paramount, has to be head and shoulders above the rest. But we'll find out. 15 minutes back on the clock. Sebastian Ray and Nemchek share the front row. Shores Oyster and Bence Farkas just in behind. Race 2 is underway. And once again, not the best of starts from pole position like we saw over the course of race 1. But I think it's enough for Sebastian Ray to hold the lead in towards turn 1. That start, though, from the pole of Mariusz Zabdir catapults himself into third, already side by side with Nemchek for second. A brilliant start from Zabdir inside line for turn 1. And he has kickstarted race 2 in style.
I'm wondering if that was a jump start. It was certainly very, very fast from Zabdir. Gets himself up into that second place. Amazing start for him, as in behind Oyster and Farkas are going to be battling for that 4th and 5th place. And a little bit further back, we're seeing that inside the top 10. We've got Daniel Bartos. They've made their way forward, as there's been a couple of incidents a little bit further back. Saw some drivers dropping down the field. Yeah, Philip Drace down in 18th place, and that could have big consequences for his evening.
It is Philip Howell as well. I'm not seeing him inside the top 10 either. Yeah, he's all the way down in 30th, so huge incident for them in the opening moments. Here's Luciano Vitfuit, though, one of the top 3 that didn't get caught up in the opening moments, or, well, not yet anyway. Outside line for turn number 5, 3 wide in that fight for second as well. Sebastian Ray gets pinched. He's nearly sent off into the barrier, continuing to go 3 wide. The 33 of Shaw's Oyster threads the needle. He's up in his second, with Ray and Farkash still fighting out for the final place on the podium. Hard racing, and, well, I'll be honest, I'm quite surprised we didn't see a massive crash.
Yeah, these drivers doing a good job keeping the cars in a straight line. Somehow Nemchek there in that 5th place. He's having to defend hard from Christian Michel, diving it down the inside. Vitfuit is going to try and follow him round the outside of the carousel. Not always the nicest place to make an overtake, but they're trying to make it work. Still side by side is the pairs. We're getting Orban trying to get out the inside of Vitfuit as well. They go back single file momentarily as he comes towards the king. Vitfuit's off the track. He's in the grass, but manages to keep it going, flashing the lights as well.
Yeah, not very happy. It's elbows out stuff, it must be said. The gloves are off in this fight over the course of race 2. Reverse grids always do lend themselves to a bit of carnage and chaos, and naturally we might see a little bit of argy-bargy as well. Side by side as well, that's the fight for 5th. Davin Nemchek and Christian Michel, who's trying to fight his way forward. Here's Farkash as well, nipping his way to the inside. 3 cars off, Luciano Vitfuit, Christian Orban, and I think also, was it Peter Daniel working his way off as well? Who knows? So many cars, so much action, and a near miss, it must be said, for the championship leader.
That was, yeah, was that 3 or 4 cars all going off the track? I think there may have been a few braking zones being missed there to finish this first lap of race 2. There's absolute carnage there. Look at the amount of cars on the screen. And yeah, we have got Philip Drace down in 17th place. Philip Howard all the way down in 29th place. He's got a big job to come back from this one, as we've got Vitfuit here. He's got 3 cars coming in behind him. He's side by side as well with Bartolos as they come towards the first corner, as he manages just about to hold on to that one. 8th place is going to be as Luis Gomero. We haven't mentioned his name all night, but he's up into 9th.
He is indeed, and kickstarting his evening off in style. I think he just missed out on the top 10 over the course of race 1, and that's what we're talking about, using a race as a stepping stone to kickstart your evening, because now, if the Spaniard can keep it, he's going to be looking very pretty for race 3 as well. So that's the thing, is that even if you do have a bad race, it's still possible to have a good evening over the course of the whole thing. So Jose Luis Gomero looking very strong and looking to take the fight to the championship leader, which is never an easy thing to do. Forced to go defensive, potentially the Dutchman, he in the end takes the race line, but tag from behind, and the Spaniard is off. There's more contact as well, as I think Peter Daniel goes straight into the side of him. He's facing the wrong way, and that, look at what it's caused, Cam. It's absolute carnage. One of the cars sent off as well. That's Mihai Noj. He's sent off and down to P21.
That wasn't the nicest rejoin either, but yeah, that was absolute carnage there in towards T5. I was mentioning in between the races how we might see the tension and the aggression go up a little bit as the races go on, and we're certainly starting to see that. As yeah, that was a bit of a shame. Was it Peter Daniel there running into the back, just spinning the car ahead, and that is not what you want to be doing, but it's so easy to do when the cars are this close together. Yeah, you can very easily get a bit overrun into these braking zones. As we come back to the front, Jabdir is at the front, leading away from Moise. He's got a Farkash in behind with Sebastian Ray and Christian Michel rounding out the top 10. What a start it's been from Zabdir. No penalty or anything so far, so I think he might have got away and just had an absolutely perfect start.
What a compliment that is. He got such a good start, we all think he cheated, essentially. Marius Zabdir, so good. Farkash as well with a good move to the inside of Canada corner, run side by side with the Dutchman of Shaw's Oyster. Not the best exit though from the Hungarian. More contact as they won their way through. Not entirely sure how they're managing that, but it's put Farkash on the back foot, because here comes Sebastian Ray. Was on pole for this race after finishing 10th in race 1, now in 4th, but maybe 3rd as well. Side by side going through the last couple of corners. He has to settle in behind the Hungarian. Shaw's Oyster having a great time up there in 2nd, and despite Zabdir's pace and his incredible start, the slipstream is keeping the rest of them in touch.
Yeah, it's difficult to pull away around this track. You have to get sort of battles in behind that slow people down. As someone who's not slowing down is Nemchek. He's had a decent start to this race. Now trying to get that P5 off Christian Michel as he's trying to sort of almost push him in towards turn 1. Michel defended very early. Nemchek not doing anything to come past that time around. If they can actually sort of bump draft, they might be able to get themselves up into this battle and sneak a podium if these guys start battling ahead. So definitely some opportunities to come. Still 9.5 minutes left in this second race of the evening, as there's Cravey for that 9th place. Orban behind in the white car. He's 10th place and currently the reverse grid pole. But look at the amount of drivers lined up to take that away from them.
Yeah, they're all eager. Of course, that's the cut-off point, and that could be the make or break for your evening. The difference between 10th and 11th might not be much, less than half a second at the line, but it's going to be the difference between a front row and a 6th row start. Here's Christian Orban, though, trying to go for the move for 9th. Cravey, though, has a nice wide line. It's too tight from the Hungarian. Here comes Philip Drace, outside line, of course. He's worked his way back into the top 10. It's sensational recovery drive, and it touches on what we were saying earlier in the stream cam about how that even if you do have a collision, if you can just scrape yourself back into contention, you can still recover over the course of race 3. However, Orban has not made it easy for the race 1 winner.
Yeah, Drace can save his evening by getting back up inside that top 10. That will be a really good one, because then he can win race 1 and potentially win race 3 as well, which will give him some great points towards the overall standings for the evening, which is where the championship points come from. So that is the important factor that you're looking out for. It's not just one good race, it's 3 consistent races. Oyster, though, defending up towards Canada Corner this time around. For 2nd place, it's going to be Farkash. Did have a bit of a send last time around. I think he's probably too far this time, but the 4 of them are going to be closing up as ever, as Zabdir's not really pulling away, so they're definitely all in the slipstream still.
They are. What was that? Half a second covering the top 3, nose to tail, and we've still got half of race 2 left to go. We hope that everyone at home is enjoying this as much as we are. This is exactly why we do what we do. Races like these, cars like these, drivers like these on such a brilliant platform as well. The RaceRoom Ranked Championship is definitely never, ever going to disappoint. The MX-5s here at Road America continue into the second half of race 2, and Bence Farkash, we ride on board with a Hungarian who proved his worth over the course of qualifying and to some degree over the course of race 1 as well. He's got a chance to redeem himself for finishing off the podium in race 1 by maybe snatching away 2nd place from Oyster in the second half of this one. Oyster looking to the inside of Marius Zabdir, not quite able to find a way through, and that's the danger really in 2nd place, Cam. You're having to look forward, you're having to look behind, and if Oyster sort of goes for a half-hearted attempt to the inside of Zabdir trying to bluff him out, that's exactly when Farkash can make his move.
Yeah, and Farkash has been looking aggressive as well, so we know he's going to go for an opportunity if the door opens, and this really is starting to turn into a 6-way battle. Those gaps are starting to close down, although it's actually Ray who can't quite keep on with that top 3. Back to Vitva there in the grey and orange machine on the right-hand side of the picture, coming down through the kinks of turn 4, battling with Bartos, who's going to come out on top. Bit of contact between two, bit more contact as we come in towards the braking zone. It's going to be Vitva there holding on to that 7th place, and just in behind they've got Philip Drace, who's got himself up into 9th place, who was down in, I think, sort of 18th, 19th place on that first lap. Great recovery from the race 1 winner.
It is indeed, and he's now, as we say, saving his evening essentially. If he can get sort of a string of top 10s, that's going to be great, and maybe if he can convert that into a win in race 3. Obviously not saying anything because we're nowhere near done with race 2 yet, but that's exactly what Drace needs in order to ignite his evening after whatever it was on the opening lap. Presumably it involved Philippau, who, talking of, has worked his way back into 19th place. It means that in race 3 he's got less people to make up places on to get back into the top 10 to sort of minimise the damage essentially, but not great from the Frenchman. Fortunately for him, he's still got 5.5 minutes left to recover. Someone that we did touch on, actually, we'll come back to that in a second, because Jules Oyster's sparking the lead change, maybe. Outside line going through Canada Corner. What's Farkash? What's his stance going to be? Inside line for Marius Zabdir. He hangs on and is good enough in order to stop himself for the apex, but keep enough momentum to have a good exit. Great defensive driving from Zabdir. He knows exactly how to make that MX-5 twice as wide.
Yeah, he's doing such a good job this race in towards this final corner. And also, he came in as the 2nd highest ranked driver as well. So as much as this is his debut this season, he comes in already as a contender. In behind, there is Ray and Farkash side by side up the hill. We're going to get a double overtake here. Oyster's also getting a bit of a run, but in behind, look at this rear-facing camera. Looks like it's going to be Farkash actually using that bit of slipstream just to get back ahead of Ray as we come towards braking zone for turn number 1. Is there going to be any sort of a dive? No, there's not. They stay in that single file for now, as Michelle has well and truly caught up with Nemchuk. They've worked really well, and with just a couple of laps to go, there's definitely opportunities for them to sneak this podium. As we're seeing Oyster, is he a little bit too close there? Farkash gets to run out of turn 3.
He does. He gets the later apex, and now you can barely see Oyster in between the race leader and third place. Zabdir is forced to go over to the left hand side, however Oyster forces the initiative and puts his car there. Zabdir is forced to concede and give him the space. Are we going to go 3 wide on the downhill run into the braking zone of turn number 5? Zabdir in the middle, side by side, the Hungarian of Farkas in the blue MX-5, outside line for him versus Oyster, pushed wide nearly onto the gravel, bit of a twitch there and he's forced to go defensive up the crest in towards turn number 6, able to hang on, but look for Christian Michel, he's on the inside of Sebastian Ray for 4th place.
What a move there by Michel. Very opportunistic. Ray was looking at 3rd place. Now he might be looking at 5th. Onto the grass. Michel goes. As we come down the hill now, such an important braking zone in towards the carousel. It looks like Michel is actually just going to keep his nose in. Tries to keep Ray out of the racing line. But around the outside comes Nemchek. That's going to be the inside for the carousel. So Michel himself, after looking at 4th place, goes down to 6th. Just shows you how easy it is to go up or down positions in this championship.
Exactly, and that is exactly why we love it. You've got to be on your game, 110% focus from lights to flag and then some. Marius Zabdir leading a 3-car fight for the lead with 3 more cars hotly in pursuit. They were right there, but a quick bit of battling, and they've lost about a second back to the back of Ben's Farkas. Are we going to see any changes into Canada Corner? And to be honest, Cam, I'm quite surprised at how much of a hotspot Canada Corner's been. It's not often that we see so many sends, and I think it just speaks volumes about the raceability of a car like this.
Yeah, the kink, of course, is such a corner for these cars that it actually sort of alters your momentum coming onto the straight, and I think that's why we see a difference in speed there coming to Canada Corner. Of course, it's also one of the harder braking zones on the track, as we've got 2 pairs of 3 coming up to the line with about 2.5 minutes left. This might be the final lap, as we saw the previous time around. Who is going to be coming out on top? We still do not know, as Oyster goes for the inside.
It's going to be very, very close for one more lap, so don't chance it. Take the lead on this one and then hope for the best. Zabdir under pressure. Here's Farkas to the outside of turn number 1. Has he got the agility to dance his MX-5 the long way round, and the Flying Dutchman assures Oyster they continue to go side by side, riding on board with Zabdir looking back. Oyster has the inside for turn 3. However, Farkas is later on the brakes. Oyster's managed to got the apex covered. Now it's going to be a case of who can put their foot to the floor first. Who does Zabdir give the slipstream to? And it's going to go the way of Oyster. Farkas might be a sitting duck.
He certainly might, as this is actually quite a nice place for Oyster. Has he got enough straight to get back up? I don't know if it's going to be enough, although Farkas himself might be looking up the inside, as we still don't know who's going to finish in 4th place either. So many cars battling on screen. Nemchek and Michel up the inside. That's going to be for 4th place. The yellow machine of Nemchek makes it stick. He's just used Michel to his advantage this race after sitting in 6th for so long. He's now up in a 4th place with just 90 seconds to go. Ray drops down to 6th.
He does, and again, speaks about how easy things can change. No matter how good you are, things can come back and bite you in the backside. Here comes Oyster, outside line versus Zabdir, who's defending. Is this the final lap? Is it the penultimate lap? Who knows until we get there. Marius Zabdir now forced to go defensive into the carousel. Forced onto a tighter line, however, assures Oyster, which might open the door for Ben's Farkas. Look for Nemchek, look for Michel, look for Ray, because once we did have 2 groups of 3, we might find ourselves with one long run of 6, or even 7 actually, Bitfords there.
And if we're assuming this is the final lap, is Oyster again going to go for it down in towards Canada Corner? He's almost too close. This could give Farkas a run. Zabdir goes onto the grass. This could be the move for Oyster.
It could be indeed. Ben's Farkas is going to try and follow him through, pry the door open on the inside. Oyster's just got the nose ahead, onto the brakes into Canada Corner. Zabdir the long way round. The Hungarian of Farkas follows him through. Oyster's sideways. Zabdir with the run, the long way round to keep the race lead. He goes ever so slightly off track. We've got 23 seconds of racing action left to go for race 2 of the MX-5s, side by side, as Oyster tries to hang on to 2nd. Final corner. Is it the final corner of the race? Zabdir puts his foot down. He's going to be hoping to see that checkered flag. He doesn't want to defend for any longer than he needs to. 8, 7, 6, 5. Is the checkered flag being waved? Is that the end of the race, or do we get one more? They're nose to tail across the line. I think they might just have managed it. No, they haven't. Race 2 is over. It's Zabdir from Oyster from Farkas.
What a final lap battle there, and even just what a race. Zabdir had such a good start from 6th, 7th place on the grid, managed to make himself get up into, I think it was already 2nd place at the end of that first lap before working his way to the lead, then held on to it. Oyster and Farkash gave such a big battle there to round out the podium as well. What a battle, and oh, look at that. Drace in 9th place, confirming himself after the crash on that first lap, getting back into reverse grid place is a great race from him too.
Yeah, indeed. So really important stuff. But there's the top 10. Obviously, Nemchek shows himself twice. The full order, I think, is actually the South African of Udrik Hussein following him behind Philip Drace. There he is, working his way inside the top 10. Brilliant race, it must be said, for the Chile Racing Team driver. But there's your top 10. They'll get flipped on its head. We'll go again for race 3. Zabdir, Oyster, Farkash. To be fair, hats off to the entirety, really, of the top 8, because they're the main ones that were really, really close. 1.7 seconds covers 8 cars, Cam. Where else can you get racing like this?
Yeah, these little MX-5s just give us so much action, and yeah, at the end we didn't really mention that too much on that final lap, but yeah, Vitva and Bartos, they really made that a top 8, so that just shows you how the battling slows you down so much around this track, because the momentum is such a big factor onto these massively long straights in these little almost underpowered cars. Yeah, if you start battling and you slow yourself down onto the straight, not only do you lose time in the corner, but you then lose that time and that momentum all the way down the straight, so your delta, you'll just be losing hundredths of a second at a time. And yeah, it's definitely a very interesting race. We've still got one more to go.
We do indeed. And I'll be honest, I love the fact we got 3 races, because we've got so many opportunities for things to keep lively. And I just love formats like this, championships like this, drivers like this. It just, yeah, smiling from ear to ear each and every single race that we go racing, and there's always more to come. We've got Brno and Nordschleifer as well over the course of the next 6 weeks for the MX-5 Cup. 2 brilliant circuits, of course, but let's finish off Road America first, because unsurprisingly, Cam, it really is delivering. Sort of maybe helped obviously by the slipstream, but what a brilliant circuit to come to. Late braking zones, flowing corners, long straights for slipstream. It's basically just crafted itself into a perfect recipe for great racing, and these guys have gone out there and have used that recipe to give us some insane racing, because, you know, they could have very easily been quite disrespectful, not raced as hard, but these guys are giving it their all.
Yeah, it works so well, this MX-5 at this track. Is a great combination, and it does kind of make sense with the long straights that we've got around here and the underpowered nature, and it's working out to be so good. And in general, the calendar as a whole, I think, looks really good for this this style of race. We'll have to just see how that one works out with the races to come, of course, at Brno and the Nordschleifer. But yeah, really enjoying this format, really enjoying the cars, and yeah, a great a change for this 3rd tier of the ranked championship.
Yes, and obviously 2022 was really good. We had the Formula 4s, the GT3s, as well as the touring cars as well, I believe, was it over the course of 2022 with the final season. That was brilliant. And what I love about 2023, as we've touched on it already, is the fact you're not limited to one series. You don't just have to do the MX-5s. You don't just have to do the KTMs. You don't just have to do the GT3s. You can mix match. You can do all 3. And it means that we see the best across all 3. The best drivers take to what they feel most comfortable with, but also they can, as a community, as a driver, you're not just limited to one, and you can constantly be supplied with some good fun, good racing, and also as well some good prizes on hand for obviously for the championship winners, in terms of the in-game currency for RaceRoom, where you can buy your tracks, your cars and things as well. And also with that, a trophy, which is a nice touch on top of things, because it's a nice sentiment. It's something tangible, something you can hold, and something that just says, yeah, good job on me. But Cam, we're about to get ourselves underway for race 3. Very quickly, who's winning?
Don't know, as it's too difficult to judge.
Yeah, well, we're underway one more time this evening. 15 minutes on the clock. Philip Drace gets a great run off the front row, and he catapults himself into the race lead. Hussein there, the South African, finished 10th over the course of race 2. Started on the front row and has dropped maybe to 2nd, maybe even 3rd, with Barcelos on the outside into turn number 1. He saws his way around the outside, with Luciano Vitfoot trying to make amends for the back end of the top 10 in race 2. The championship leader up to 4th.
Yeah, great to start. It was Viva there, diving it down the inside in towards turn 3. Thought he was going to make that one stick, but not quite late enough on the brakes that time around. In single file formation, at least towards the front. I think I can see Zabdir in the back trying to make up moves as he, of course, started from that 10th place, already getting past Farkash as Daniel's trying to get himself up inside the top 10 as well, as these are, of course, this is the final time for them to get the points. It all matters about the win now. That top 10 does not matter anymore.
Really doesn't. So go out there, fight. Hussein a little bit wide through turn 5, a little bit of a touch there. Who's that round? Is that Michelle, who's had such a good evening? Spins out at turn number 5 and tumbles down the order. It just goes to show how quickly things can change. Doesn't matter who you are, how good you are. If you make a mistake, you're going to see the punishment of it. Ben's Farkash has had a bit of an issue. Shaw's Oysa and Polgar. It's Van Tit maybe also has been caught up in something. Who knows? But Oysa, after a great run in race 2, now finds himself P27.
How the tables turn so quickly in the championship. Philippau from, was it 29th place at one point, is now up into 9th. Awesome recovery drive from him so far. He's got ahead of Farkash there, who's that blue car behind. He is now in that 10th place. Philippau there trying to get the run though on the car ahead, which is of Christian Orban. Zabdir's got himself up into that 7th place, as there's a little bit of a gap that's forming actually behind Zabdir up towards Nemchek. So definitely some issues there for the drivers in those positions. And I mean, it's just going to be crazy scenes now towards the end of this race, with side by side in the background, with side by side in the foreground as well, as this is your top your top 6 now starting to pull away.
They are. That means Marius Zabdir's got to be careful, but he's got his own worries. That is all aboard the Zabdir Express. That is, the cars just kept coming. It was like a magician pulling cloth out of his sleeve or something. Zabdir has got a big task at hand to keep Christian Orban and the rest of them at bay, while also trying to think about the overall objective of this race. Christian Orban, though, sends it around the outside, dipping a wheel onto the grass, tarnishing his momentum. Here comes Enzo Philippau. Bad race 2, but he's already worked his way back up into the top 10 for race 3.
Just look at the visual reference of that momentum that I was talking about. You lose, what's that going to be, about 3 car lengths, 4 car lengths maybe by the end of the straight, if you get a bad run out onto these massively long straightaways around here. Side by side for the lead though. Drace up the inside, and he's going to be having that lead now as we come towards turn 2, in towards turn 3. Bartolos there is going to have to keep that 2nd place. He's got Vitva in behind as well. Drace also involved in an accident with Philippau. He might be winning the 1st and 3rd races here. Just shows you how chaotic your evenings can be in the MX-5 Championship.
They can be indeed a roller coaster of emotion. Sebastian Ray, after a string of top 10 finishes over the course of this evening, finds himself 4th under pressure from David Nemchek and also Udrik Hussein side by side for the lead. Dre's forced to go defensive side by side here as Ray is able to keep 4th place. For how much longer? 1, 2 and 3 nose to tail, and also 4, 5 and 6 nose to tail, settling into a similar theme we saw over the course of race 2. Here's Bozo side by side with Farkash. 3 Hungarians separated over the course of 3 positions. Bozo able to get his elbows out over the qualifying pair on the front row over the course of race 1.
A nice, amazing racecraft of quite a few of these drivers, and so many have gone up and down. Oh, that is so late on the brakes there from the number 8 machine of Bozo. He's going to lose a place to Farkash, and he's going to lose a place to his other countryman of Orban round the outside. Well, actually, Orban, is he going to be able to put it down? Yes, he is, to the racing line. That was so late on the brakes from Bozo. That was probably about 15, 20 metres too late.
It was, and he's fallen behind his 2 countrymen and down to 11th place. Of course, he's outside the top 10, doesn't really matter in race 3, and he's just going to be able to try and maximise his points. Running on board with championship leader Luciano Vitfuit, he was able to get himself onto the podium, and he's trying to get himself up into 2nd place. Inside line, late sends the inside of Bartolos. Great move from Vitfuit, but it's too late on the brakes, and he rejoins neck and neck with Bartolos, who gets the up and under and gets his entire car ahead of Vitfuit, who is maybe a little bit too aggressive, thinking too quickly and acting sort of too impulsively to go late on the brakes there. Might have been a better idea to hold station, wait and go for the move here, because they've got to be careful. The last driver they want to let get away is Philip Drace.
Yeah, I was bound to mention that myself. This battling is just going to let Drace get away and have a comfortable victory, which will be his second of the evening. But Vitva is going to try and get that. Well, actually, no, he's not. Is he going to try a bit of bump drafting? That's possibly what they're going to do, to bump draft, push themselves forward, basically use 2 cars' horsepower to push yourself forward and then up towards the slipstream of Philip Dryce. And in behind we've got, oh, actually, no, it's not. It's going to be Vitva now, down the inside, in towards turn number 3. He was using him into turn 1, makes a move into turn 3 and can now try and pull away. But the issue is he just outside the slipstream? He might be a little bit too far.
Yeah, he might well be. 3/4 of a second now is the gap between Drace and Vitvoet. Bartolos, I think, might have to think against his better judgment and work with Vitvoet here to even have a smidge of a chance of the fight for the lead. Vitvoet, though, is not getting a sense of security. He's forced to go defensive into turn 5, go late on the brakes and cover off his bases. Looking for the up and under was Bartolos, trying to get a switchback, and now already Vitvoet forced to go defensive once again. Bartolos goes to the outside. Switchbacks, though, seem to be really key in fights around Road America. Cam, is it because of the MX-5s? Is it because of Road America? Obviously, these are very momentum-based cars, so it makes sense that if you can get a nice late apex, you should be able to get the move sealed.
Yeah, later apex, which means you straighten up the car that little bit earlier, and therefore you get on the power that little bit earlier, and you use that momentum all the way down the straights. And as we mentioned, there's quite a few long straights and long sort of sequence of who is that? Bozo. He's gone around one corner later than he outbroke himself last lap, and he's now been overtaken 3 wide around the carousel.
Wow, that was brave from Brick and Giles to go side by side through the carousel full stop, to then overtake another slow car whilst doing so. Even braver. A nice pirouette, by the way, from Bozo. He was able to correct himself quite nicely and point his way the right way, nice and quickly, albeit he shouldn't have made the mistake in the first place, arguably, and finds himself 17th. However, back to this fight a little bit further up, 4th, 5th, and 6th. Nemchek range, Usaman, with Enzo Filipao under pressure from Marius Shabdir. I guess that's sort of the problem, Cam. Filipao and Zabdir, 2 very quick drivers in this championship. They find themselves not where arguably their pace allows them to be, and now they're sort of in this sticky situation where they're 2 great drivers that are going to fight with each other, but at the same time they do want to go and catch. It's sort of that danger zone. Either they fight and have to settle for a low place, or they suck it up, work together and fight their way forward. I think we're getting the latter, with Filipao and Zabdir having the maturity to think, you know what, let's not fight too hard, because, well, we're 2 great drivers. We're not going to want 7th and 8th. We're going to want a little bit more than that. And I think if they play their cards right, they might be able to squeeze themselves onto the back of this fight here.
The only thing is they are both sort of aggressive overtakers, and that is how they've made names for themselves, is being able to get towards the front of the pack. The issue for them is that couple of seconds gap they've got is going to be difficult to close down just on pace. They need the guys ahead of Ray and Huysman to start battling a little bit, I think. That's only going to be the way that they can catch it down. But we will see. We've still got a few laps left in this race. Zabdir getting close through turn 4 in towards turn 5. Is he going to be pulling out in towards the braking zone? No, he's just going to be pushing Filipao along. So maybe you're right. Maybe they are trying to work together. But I think it might take a couple of laps to bridge that gap, and then have to have some tense, aggressive fights in the last couple of laps.
Yes, obviously, if you work together and it doesn't work out, then by all means fight for whatever position you can get. But work together up until that point of no return, where you then just... because you never know what could happen with how hard these 3 are fighting. And to be fair, you can see them in the same shot. The gap is about 1.3 seconds from Filipao to Husseyman, so it's not all over until it's over. Nemchek with a wide line though, and Sebastian Ray looking very, very aggressive. Nearly, I thought for a second he was going to try and overtake at the mid part of the carousel. Fortunately, he's a lot cleverer than I am. Gets a nice apex, however, gets the drive off. Ragnar on the rev limiter trying to maximise his acceleration, does exactly that and gets alongside Nemchek into the kink, and it's much more of a corner in the MX-5s than it is in most other cars that come to Road America. Also, look at that from Husseyman. That's what we talk about momentum. He's taken a nice apex and he's managed to get himself ahead.
There's a bit of NASCAR-style driving there from Ray, almost pushing Nemchek out of the way. I think he's getting a little bit of a bump there coming towards the kink, as is actually going to be Nemchek trying to come back around the outside of the penultimate corner there, turn 13, but not enough to make the overtake. So Huysman holds on to that one, as in behind that is about to Filipao, though, up the inside in towards the final corner, very, very late. That is Nemchek, and I wonder if Huysman made a bit of a mistake there, because he's lost so much time, and here comes Filipao with the run up towards the first corner.
It's a long run, and well, oh wow, look at how close they are as well behind. With Philip out, Zabdir and Farkash nose to tail, 3 drivers that over the course of race 1 and 2 would not want to settle for how they are now. Zabdir, I think, has reached that point where he wants to kickstart a move. Are we going to go 3 wide late on the brakes? Zabdir goes for 2 in 1. Bench Farkash gets the up and under on Enzo Filipao as well. He squeezes away to the inside of turn number 1, finds himself side by side with the Frenchman on that run in towards turn number 3. Is Farkash going to go on Zabdir? Yes, he is. Zabdir stays firm on the outside. There's contact and Farkash is sent wayward. Filipao now might be looking for a counter-attack.
Yeah, that was so close to a spin, but once again, we've seen it a few times. These guys battle hard, but they just somehow keep it going in a straight line, which is what we want to see for the battles to continue. Filipao is getting slightly closer there, coming down towards turn 5, looks towards the inside, just in the background, not enough. Actually, wiggling all over the place in the braking zone, trying to find a way through, trying to put his opponent off ahead of the blue car there with Farkash at the wheel, but as it stands, Filipao down in 9th, Farkash in 8th.
He is, and well, with about 3 minutes left to go, we're on lap 4. We tailed off lap 6 over the course of race 1 and 2, so not long left to go at all. Only a couple of laps left, and with each corner, therefore, is one less opportunity for you to make a pass. Speaking of making passes, Drace and Vitvu are quite close as well in their fight for the lead, and fortunately for them, Cam, they've been able to break away from Bartolos, who is a couple of car lengths back, which means that going on to the last lap or 2, they've only got to worry about each other, which is a luxury no other lead fighters had over the course of this evening.
Yeah, we were worried about Drace getting away, but I think Vitva has some speed today around Road America as Drace defends to the inside, coming towards Canada corner. This is where all the action has been so far this evening. To the outside goes Vitva, a little bit too wide though. He's going to go onto the dirty stuff and can't make it stick, but at least that's a bit of a warm-up for what we might see next time around.
Indeed so, absolutely. Incredible stuff. We might be starting the final lap. I think maybe because this race has been a bit more tame, we might be able to squeeze it onto the next one. Hussein, though, has got Farkash on his inside through the final corner. That's the fight for 7th place. Farkash sends the move, runs side by side. Filipao with the good run naturally in behind, has that backwards momentum. They rise up over the crest, 3 wide with Farkash in the middle, Hussein on the left, and of course Filipao on the right. A very picturesque shot as they run their way across the line. Farkash forced to concede, with Filipao maybe making the move for 7th. He might well just be able to do it. Hussein in 7th. Here's Drace, here's Vitvuet. So many fights to decipher in the final moments.
Bit of contact there, coming towards the first corners. The 3 wide continues through turn number 2. Huysman in that red car manages to hold on, but at the front there's of course the action to be had. 4-way battle now coming on to this first of the back straights here. Filipao leads the way, Huysman, Farkash, Orban in behind, but here comes Vitva around the outside.
He's going for it, and it's going to be a very tough ask to do a long way round of turn number 5, but if anyone can do it, Vitvuet can. He's got to be late on the brakes. He takes a nice wide line, but it's covered off from Drace. The switchback, though, potentially is on. Late apex, not the perfect drive from Vitvuet. He might have to settle for 2nd unless he's super brave on the brakes into turn 6. No, he is not. Drace hangs on for now. Luciano Vitvuet, the championship leader, searching for, surprisingly, his first win in the series.
They crossed the line with pretty much exactly 2 minutes 30. I was having a look out, so it's going to be depending on their pace on this final lap as well. They might change whether they go those extra few tenths to get the extra lap, or if they slow down a bit, and then therefore this will be the final lap. Just over a minute to go though, as this battle seems to have worked itself out a little bit. Farkash has got up into 7th place with Filipao in behind Orban, and Huysman has dropped down the back of that 4-way battle for what was that 7th to 10th place. Cravey just in the picture in behind as well, but they are not going to be getting, I don't think, any more places as Zabdir has got up the road up ahead.
Now this is it. It could be the final chance for Luciano Vitvuet to get his first victory of the championship. Philip Drace did it in race 1. Luciano, 5 races, 3 podiums, and he's looking for a first victory side by side up the hill for the final time potentially. Luciano Vitvuet takes the lead. He's got the car ahead. Philip Drace now is forced to go on the counter attack. Is he going to get the switch back on that run to the line? 18 seconds left to go. We might just be able to scrape another lap in, and I think we just about might. Luciano Vitfort forced them to go defensive on that final run in towards turn number 1. We are going to get another lap. It's going to be very close once again, but we're going to do it. Philip Drees, Luciano Vitfort across line to kickstart the final lap of the race here for race number 3. Drees is on the outside. Vitfort finally searched for the race lead, and now he's got to do the hard work to defend it. Philip Drees to the outside for his second win potentially of the evening. The long way round to turn number 1, but Vitfort has it covered.
River had to go for the place into Calendar Corner that time around because of it being so close to the 0 seconds, as that's a bit of a mistake there by Drace as well. That lets Vitfort get away by a couple of car lengths, but it's actually helped him in many ways. He's now going to get massive overspeed with the huge slipstream, with the fact that he was a couple of car lengths away. This might work out for Drace back into turn 5.
Might well do indeed. We talked about that backwards momentum, about that slingshot. Luciano doesn't really know whether he wants to defend or not. He eventually commits to the left-hand side. Here comes Philip Drees, though, the long way round of turn number 5. It's probably the wise thing to do. Get the switch back, get the drive up the hill. Vitfort not taking any chances. He's going defensive. Meanwhile, Bartolos is closing in on this battle as well. Two fantastic drivers fighting for the final race here for round 2 of Road America. Half a lap left to go, Cam, and we might see some surprises yet.
Oh, this is great battles. I think these are going to be two of the drives to look out for by the time we get to that final race in the Nordschleife in a few weeks' time. But for here at Road America, who is going to win the 3rd race of the season? Vitfort, he's had a bit of a difficult evening, but he's finally got himself into a race-winning position. He's just got a couple of kilometres left to do it, but the important factor is the braking zone down in towards Canada Corner. Can Drace get any sort of a run? This kick coming up could make or break that. Get it on the grass and you're going to be losing the position.
Indeed so. Be very, very careful. Walk on eggshells. The pressure going through their veins must be absolutely insane. The adrenaline is going to be flowing, and Philip Drees has got 1, maybe 2 more chances to throw his car into the race lead. Vitfort defends into Canada Corner. He's brave on the brakes. Bit of contact between our 2 race leaders as Vitfort stays ahead, but maybe Drees can get the run up the hill. It could be a drag race to the line. Where's Bartlos? He's fallen off the back. It's a 2-horse race for the lead. Vitfort is going to go defensive. Drees might be searching for any gap he might be able to find into the final corner, and it's sideways for Vitfort, and he's locked the rears as Philip Drees, and it might cost him the race lead. We go up the hill for one more time. The run to the checkered flag, and Luciano Vitfort, the championship leader in the RaceRoom Ranked Championship MX-5 Cup, and he's gonna take his first victory of the season across the line to win race 3 here in Road America. Philip Drees gave him a good hard time, but it's Vitfort that reigns supreme. Bartolos takes the final step on the podium with Sebastian Ray and Ben Sparkash the top 5 beyond that. Crave and Daniel side by side across the line, and it's the Brit that takes 11th place in the end. Christian Michel, a lowly race in 18th place after what was a very, very good evening of racing action. Vitfort and Drees, though, Cam, what a rivalry that was.
Yeah, that was an amazing battle. Vitfort timed his overtake perfectly to ensure they had track position if there wasn't a final lap, but there was a final lap, so he had to do the defending from the front, which is not always the nicest place, but held on to it so well with the defense in the final couple of braking zones as well. But it was certainly a very chaotic race. As you say, Michel was down there. In the end, Jabdir lost out. He ended up way down the order as well in that final lap, so loads of carnage this race. Bozo Oiza losing out as well. So many drivers, just showing you how it's very difficult to get the consistent results, but it is Vitfort and Drace this evening who managed the consistency factor.
I think so indeed. Drace, obviously, with race 2 being a bit low down, he did the hard work, he got himself back into contention, and unfortunately in race 3 he had to take the second step to Luciano Vitfort. Bartolos rounds off the podium with Ray and Farkash the top 5, taking the fast lap as well. The Hungarian definitely very quick on his 1-lap pace as we saw in qualifying. Enzo Filipao, Christian Orban, Hussein in 8th place with Cravey and Rafayetta the top 10. 3 brilliant races here in Road America, Cam. I honestly don't think we could really have asked for more. Marius Zabdir finishing all the way down in P20, maybe having an incident in the final moments to see him down there. But again, he took a race victory tonight as well, and just goes to show how much of a roller coaster a 3-race format is in these MX-5s.
Yeah, Nemchek finishing down in 13th place, so definitely some things happening there off the screen, but there was so much action on that final lap, so many things to try and look at, difficult to find every single one, because as you say, this championship is just so unpredictable. The format keeps the action going, and it just seems to be working really well. Most and now Road America, two great tracks and just suiting these cars to absolute perfection. So we're already halfway through the season, a couple of rounds left, and I can't really wait to see what's going to happen with that and who's going to win the championship at the end of it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, in 3 weeks' time, the MX-5s take a return back to the Czech Republic after taking to Autodrom Most. Brno is up next for these guys, Cam. What are we to expect? Obviously, the Czech Republic isn't exactly a nation really known for its motor racing, but we've got 2 tracks, obviously Most and Brno, over the course of this season. They must be good for something. Most was good. What do we expect from Brno?
I'm expecting somewhat similar, actually, because there's a lot of... They're not the longest straights in the world, but there's a lot of straight sections around there. So I'm expecting quite a bit of slipstream around there and some tricky sort of elongated chicanes as well. So you're really going to see the drivers, like today, those long corners where you see the rear really get out of the drivers. So yeah, definitely going to be a nice one there on the 2nd of August in 3 weeks' time.
Of course, and for those that want some more of Road America, don't forget that in a week's time, the KTM GTX Championship, one of the newest additions to the RaceRoom platform, we saw it take its ranked debut really at the 2.4 hours of Dubai about a couple of months ago. It really did impress. The first round at Moss took place a couple of weeks ago, and that also very much impressed. So we're looking forward to seeing them in Road America a week's time, and then a week after that it's the GT3s around Road America as well. The ranked championship here on RaceRoom is looking very, very spicy indeed. And for those that want to get involved on the RaceRoom platform, if you've liked what you've seen here today, don't forget the summer sale, up to 50% off on your favorite cars and tracks, ends tomorrow. So get on there and get some good hard-earned money spent, because RaceRoom is a platform that has got such a wide variety of cars, of tracks, some of the lesser known ones and some that are really fun to drive. And who knows, you might find yourself good enough to find yourself in split one of some good ranked championship racing as well. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, in terms of the MX-5s, in terms of round 2 of the MX-5 Cup, it's the end of our coverage. We've had our 3 races, we've had our qualifying. What an evening of racing action it was. My name has been Zach Sweeney. We've had Cameron Roger alongside me in the commentary booth. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care and a very warm goodbye.
Do you also feel the same as this car enthusiast? He's reached his vehicle dream, but suddenly the original black wheels seem a bit boring. A colourful detail would add a lot more pep. And a little eye-catcher to match the paint would make the car perfect. Customization options don't only transform the wheel to visually match the vehicle, but also provides one-of-a-kind look on the road. The wheel color, rim protectors, center caps, valve caps, and even the wheel bolts can be configured and designed individually using style components of the new BBS Unlimited wheel system. And here's how it works. The BBS Unlimited base wheels are available in a total of 8 different colors, whether it be a glossy, satin or polished finish, or from a deep indigo blue to racing gold to a rich bronze. Rim protectors are a colorful detail to visually enhance the wheel, while preventing damage from curb contact. In addition, the rim protectors can easily and quickly be replaced and renewed at any time. In total, 6 different designs are available. The center cap completes the wheel. So how cool would it be if it could also be customized? BBS Unlimited Style makes this possible. It's available in 56mm and 70.6mm diameters and can be applied in a variety of ways with the BBS logo. The center cap is available in 2D or 3D embossing, as well as in several color variations. And with the 3D rotation cover, the BBS logo remains visible to everyone, even when the car is in high gear. The valve caps complement the wheel in 6 different colors. This gives the individual wheel an even more coherent look. You can even choose the wheel bolt in the last step to match the wheel. Available in black, silver, and even titanium. With the help of the BBS Unlimited style components, Do you also feel the same as this car enthusiast? He's reached his vehicle dream, but suddenly Do you also feel the same as this car enthusiast? He's reached his vehicle dream, but suddenly the original black wheels seem a bit boring. A colourful detail would add a lot more pep. And a little eye-catcher to match the paint would make the car perfect. Customization options don't